big case came out, Janus versus the AFCMEDWYXZ, whatever it is. And Mariah Gondero is going to talk to us about this because she's the lawyer from the Freedom Foundation, because now the CTA, the California Teachers Association, one of the most influential players in California politics, and I believe the largest political donor in California politics, is on the hook. Mariah, what's going on? Fill us in.
Yes. Janus was a Supreme Court decision that
actually, I'm sorry. First off, who are you? Tell us who you are.
My name is Mariah Gondero. It's actually Gondero. You can call me Gondero if you want.
Okay.
I am an attorney at the Freedom Foundation. The Freedom Foundation is a nonprofit organization leading the fight in freeing people from forced unionization. We work every day to inform public employees of their rights under Janus and that they do not have to pay money to a union that they do not agree with no longer.
Okay, so right now you guys are involved in a big case. Give us the really quick, the one-sentence version. What is this case?
3 sentences?
Oh, yeah, okay, 3 sentences.
The suit involves teachers who signed a commitment card before the Janus decision, about 2 to 3 weeks, but they were pressured to sign the commitment card, not knowing their rights. After the Janus, they were informed of their rights. Our lead plaintiff was informed of her Janus rights by actually her husband. They wanted to exercise their rights and try to opt out. So the Janus decision, just so our listeners know, there's a very famous case called the Janus decision where basically the Supreme Court said you do not have to be forced to opt into a labor union. Am I correct in that? Yes, you no longer have to pay money to a union. Before Janus, you either had to pay money to a union or join the union as a condition of employment. To keep your job, you had to pay money.
So if you became a teacher in the state of California, your only choice was to join a union, and then you had to pay those dues as part of being a teacher, correct? And those dues could go towards a union that might actually be lobbying against what your political views are, correct?
Yes, but the precedent was also that you could only pay a reduced fee if you didn't want to join the union, which was called the agency fees, was about like 75% of the full union dues.
Okay, well, whether it's reduced or not, you had money that was in a mandatory fashion, if you wanted to be a teacher, taken out of your paycheck that went to the teachers union.
Yes.
And that teachers union could take all of the money that they used, and with that money, they could lobby politically, correct?
Yes.
And what were they lobbying politically to obtain?
Well, the NEA has spent over $20 million on political activity, and they spend quite a bit of their money they give quite a bit of their money to politicians who return the favor in implementing policies in their favor, the union leaders' favor.
Okay, now I'm looking at some of these, and the NEA, I have a feeling, is like completely the same as all the others. But you look at these, if you go to opensecrets.org, you can actually see, fortunately we live in a transparent enough society where you still have to have, reports about what you do with all of your political money and stuff like that. But the American Federation of Teachers, for example, last year gave $20 million. $19,986,642 of those dollars went to Democrats. Only $6,500 went to Republicans. A 99.9% bias towards Democrats. You cannot tell me that in the American Federation of Teachers, 99.9% of them have a democratic view of how education should be performed.
Of course not. Well, let's go back to the history
Wait,
of the
but
unions.
hold on. As a
Why
guy that
were
just lobbied
unions-
in the Mueller investigation in our first segment for transparency.
Oh, I can't wait to get to transparency.
Okay.
This is going to be really good.
Is that supposedly Democrats are all about fairness and all about,
we're not about, quote, you talk about fairness? No, we're talking about equal rights, the opportunity to have pay, the opportunity, like they gain the right to be paid overtime, the right for a teacher to actually get paid a salary.
Yes, we all agree with that. But when you're seeing
that didn't occur
$20 million
unions.
going 99.9% towards Democrats,
who were
is it now a labor union? First off, why do they have $20 million left over? I was always told that unions were in defense of the workers against oppressive administrators. And now they've gotten so many union dues that not only are they able to defend their teachers against oppressive administrators,
Which
they've
is
got a
part of
surplus
it.
of 20 million that allows them to act proactively in politics.
Yes.
99.9% on the side of the Democrats, which is not a proper representation of the actual teachers. Are 99.9% of
Whoa.
teachers
But
Democrats?
You're not even picking the same apples to oranges comparison here. I mean, let's try and break this down. What's the purpose of a union? Unions were formed because, first off, teachers back around the turn of the century, I'm talking 1900. I apologize, I am dating myself, but the bottom line is they were typically paid room and board. And then later they got the opportunity in 1912, because of the unions that had been formed in the previous 50 years, to finally have the opportunity to be paid the same if they're a man or a woman. It was one of the first type opportunities.
Okay, I don't want to hear the talking points about why.
But see, now.
By the way, the suffrage, the
unions-
Republicans that wanted equal pay for women, that was all
unions-
Republicans.
okay, the unions now represent, for negotiations with the administration, the pay and the benefits that those teachers are going to receive. And through our history of labor relations.
Wait, hold on. Pause. If the teachers union is meant to help negotiate, which is collective bargaining, the pay and the benefits the teachers receive, what is the $20 million going into politics for? If their
Because-
job is negotiation for pay and their job is not political lobbying, something's going wrong. Mariah,
Well,
what's going wrong?
Well, you missed a point, though. They have found a way to change many of the laws in the United States to give us the opportunity to provide many of those benefits. That's what the political money goes for.
Okay, so
The thing not to lose sight on is whether we agree with the union politics or not, the fact is this is forced speech. No one should be forced to subsidize speech that they do not agree with. And that is what Janice said. So it is not completely relevant whether we agree with the politics or not. What is relevant is that these teachers do not agree with how the union is operating. They don't agree with how the union is spending their money. They don't agree with the union leadership. The union has told them in person that if you do not agree with us or you go against us, we will ostracize you.
So
They don't want to be a part of an organization that does that.
So who are these unions representing at this point now? Because I was frustrated when we were all broke as a state and Jerry Brown started taxing the crap out of small businesses by upping their fees, not their taxes, okay? All these teachers were getting furloughed 7, 8, sometimes 14 days out of the school year. The 2-year youngest teachers actually got straight up laid off. And in that same year, the CTA found some $10 million or so to actually give to all these political campaigns. I don't remember the exact amount, so don't quote me. I don't want to give false statistics on the air. But I do remember doing this math, that I divided the amount that the CTA had to put towards political lobbying that year, and it was equivalent to $2,400 per every teacher that had been laid off. And let me tell you, that is 1 month's pay for some of these people as a severance, had they actually truly been interested in helping teachers defensively as a union, as they bill their services and represent themselves as. They would have taken that money, instead of lobbying for Democrats and being a propaganda and outreach arm for the Democrats, they would have actually just given that to the teachers to help ease the suffering of them having gotten laid off. I don't understand. My mom's a teacher, and one of her big frustrations, she's a lovely woman and she's not a political figure, so I'm not even going to give you her name, but a frustration of hers is, they got this big memo chastising a bunch of teachers for having called it Christmas break still. She's been in education for 30 years. She still calls it Christmas break on occasion, okay? And her and some of the other older teachers got chastised for this. And she got the Saugus Unified School District's official calendar, and it said winter break, and it didn't say Easter break anymore. It said spring break, all right? But every single holiday, including Ramadan, was on that calendar. And she was like, wait, why are we not allowed to say Christmas break, but we can celebrate Ramadan? And only 2 of the Jewish holidays were actually mentioned, so we're not sure whether they're pro-Jewish or not, you know what I'm saying? It's absolute non-consistent dogma against Christianity at this point, and she is being forced to pay dues to a school district that's making calendars, disallowing her from calling it Christmas break while forcing her to call it Ramadan.
I want to know something.
Yeah.
Freedom Foundation.
Yes.
They are the one who you work for.
Yes.
They're the organization that's put together this lawsuit.
Yes.
Who funds them?
We are funded by everyday Americans from all over the spectrum who agree in our mission of advancing individual liberty and freeing people from forced unionization.
You're
Okay.
familiar with the 80-20 rule, the old Pareto principle, where 20% of the donors contribute 80% of the money. Well, in the case of your particular foundation, it's slightly even higher. We find such wonderful contributors as the Bradley Foundation. We're talking about Bradley, who was one of those wonderful people associated with the John Birch Society. Another one of his organizations is the Whitley Law.
Yes, the John Birch
is very
Society.
close to the Koch brothers Foundation. We're talking about the largest chemical organization in the United States at this point, who had the wonderful opportunity of making their initial fortune off the works of working for Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. Then we look at the Hume Foundation, the Sam Waltons of the Walmart Foundation. Most of the money that's contributed to your foundation comes from wealthy billionaires who have found a way to be able to contribute this money without revealing who they are. And we have been able to find this out, and as a result, we find that you're a mouthpiece for the billionaires who want to make sure that unions are broken.
So,
Well, just to correct the record, I'm actually a mouthpiece for the 5 California teachers who want to exercise their right to opt out. They no longer want to be forced to pay money to a union that doesn't represent their interests. I am their mouthpiece and their mouthpiece only. And I am going to fight to make sure that they get the justice that they deserve.
So give us the lowdown on the lawsuit and where it stands right now, because I agree with you. It is forced speech.
Yes.
Telling a woman that she cannot be a teacher unless she has to pay union dues, and then those union dues will get used to lobby for the politics that the union reps want instead of the politics she wants, is compelled speech.
Yep. So Janice requires affirmative consent, meaning that before a public employee, and the teachers in this case, before they can pay money to the union, they have to consent, which means they have to know their rights and then give them up. The union foresaw Janice coming. They put a commitment card in their mailbox 2 to 3 weeks before the Janice decision. No explanation why, and they said, we need you to hurry up and sign this. Our lead plaintiff was very skeptical about this, but she felt like she had no other option. Like they were forcing her, we need you to sign this, not explaining why she had to sign it. About 2 days before the deadline, they told her, you have to sign this because we have to avoid Janice.
Okay.
Does that sound like
Because
pressure to you?
Janice wanted to basically say, we don't need unions representing teachers. Teachers will be paid an appropriate pay. They'll have appropriate class size. They'll receive appropriate benefits and appropriate funding, which has not been the case for the United States in its history.
Janice is about the First Amendment.
The First Amendment that
which
says we
is
no
the
longer
First
need
Amendment
unions.
in our Constitution for a reason. It is one of the bedrocks of our Constitution, a cardinal command.
I can't see the relationship to what you're talking about there as Justice Alito was able to try and pointing out to the First Amendment. I don't see the connection there. They have this union representing and negotiating for them. Do they think they don't have to pay for that?
No, but it's doing more than just negotiating their pay. It's going out and it's doing slate
Trying to
mailers for who
change.
people should vote for. It's sponsoring vans to drag teachers to the voting booths. I mean, there's
If the
to fight
union
for
is
their rights.
if the union is really doing a good job, why do they need to force people to be a part of the
Well,
union?
you know, you're always going to have a few malcontents because you had how many teachers are in this association in California?
Do you realize how many people have wanted to opt out?
No, I would
No,
like to know.
but
What
I'm-
are those numbers? What are those numbers?
No, I
then?
asked you a question.
No, I asked you, what are the numbers of those who said they want to opt out of the union at this point?
I can't give you those numbers, but
because
it's quite a few.
It may be quite a few who say, I don't want to pay the amount of money that they're being
No, they
asked
want to
pay.
opt out because they do not feel like the union represents their values.
We need to have
They don't want to
studies
be part
show
of an
that.
organization that tells them, if you don't agree with us, we are going to ostricize you.
okay. And hold on, Mark. Okay, do you think
For $1,000,
that there's
some
any
people are
profession?
gonna
No,
do
no.
that.
Let's just say I wanted to be a balloon twister. Okay, let's just take it out of the Teachers Association. Let's just say I wanted to go be a balloon twister at a restaurant.
How much
okay,
do you make as a balloon twister?
Dude,
at a
I did it as
restaurant?
a 16-year-old, and I clock about $200 a night on a good night, so I was
Yeah, but
actually
you're
pretty
different.
good.
You're a
But-
little one.
Okay, so anyway, here's the deal. Should I, if I want to go be a professional, actually we'll just keep it within the realm of teachers. If I show up and I say, I want to dedicate my heart and soul to improving the lives of children, I want to become a teacher, should I be forced to join a union?
If
Do you think that?
wanna-
Just yes or no? Do you think I should be forced to join a union?
If that union represents you in negotiations with that particular organization, not
Okay.
all, not all
Okay.
teachers.
And now
not all
how do we
teachers-
determine
Okay.
if it represents me? all the measurable. Now, if
Because
there's
a vote of the members elected that union to be their representation.
What about
And
the First Amendment?
the
What do
First
we do with
Amendment
the First
clearly
Amendment?
gives them the opportunity
No, but
of free
you're
speech
saying
and
that-
the free opportunity.
but you're saying
and
it's
the
okay-
chance to negotiate their pay, because we've watched the unions
Okay, no,
be
I'm tired
crushed
of you.
relentlessly by the people who are funding people like, or the
Okay.
organizations like the Freedom Foundation.
But hold on a second, Mark. You keep saying unions are good because they negotiate pay. Fine, all of us agree.
And rights.
Okay, pay and
Healthcare,
rights. That's fine.
equal rights,
Pay, rights, and healthcare.
bigger
Now, hold on.
smaller
Stop.
classroom size.
Stop. You keep mentioning things that are not political activism. So how come they can go beyond negotiating pay, securing benefits, and representing the teachers into having surplus money for political activism? That is the compelled speech. Mariah.
And I would like to point out that there are certain public employees that would rather bargain on their own. And they would also say that they might prefer a competitive market where hard work is incentivized and rewarded instead of a one-size-fits-all package.
Comes right out of the Coke handbook. They
Oh,
some of
gosh.
they pay some of the lowest wages. They have the highest incidence of contamination. They own the most in the chemical companies. I sit there and look at this and I go, wait a second. The reasons teachers get
The Koch
minimal
conspiracy
pay,
comes back.
minimal pay. The reason the LA
It's
Unified
like
School
listening to the
District-
Daily Stormer and the Rothschild
Oh, well,
conspiracy.
Okay, let's be
you know,
realistic.
it's like
teachers were
Alex
well
Jones.
underpaid. Classes were crowded. They had to fight to get those rights. A lot of that is not done in the actual negotiation with the people right across the board on the school board. It's also done back in Sacramento in our particular case, or back in Washington, D.C., where they negotiate with the politicians to set rules in place that allow them to be able to do this. So what we're saying now is you want to have these individuals who claim that a First Amendment right says, I don't need you to represent me. But then again,
No,
I don't
First
need
Amendment
that
right
job.
says that I do not have to pay for something that I do not agree with.
Where does
I
it
do
say
not
that?
have to fund political speach.
okay, hold on. We're going to take a break and we're going to come
I
back.
don't see that in my document.
And
of
we're
the
gonna talk
Constitution, which we can
exactly-
read the First Amendment.
Okay, this is literally
Okay.
the heart of the First Amendment discussion right here. We're going to take a brief break. This Problem Solving Politics, it's 7:48. See you in a minute.
Little Eye Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little Eye Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleeyeleaders.org.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals, too. Call right now. Operators are standing by. 1-800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 1-800-452-1075.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, live in the studio with
Mark Murphy, who's defending to add sanity to this incredible conversation.
And we also have got Mariah Gondero here with us, who is a lawyer from the Freedom Foundation, talking about the CTA lawsuit about compelled free speech. Basically, Mariah, really fast, just to start us off, can you please read the Constitution of the United States of America, Article 1, please go?
Yes, I would be more than happy to.
Okay.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Okay, so this is the article that specifically, the amendment that specifically just sets in stone freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and the freedom of peaceful assembly. Okay.
Fake news. It's all fake news.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we're not allowed to amend free speech. So we're not allowed to compel speech either. The government cannot come down. The Founding Fathers didn't like compelled religion that had happened in England. Okay. So they said in Thomas Jefferson's famous letter, there is a separation between church and state. The government cannot compel dogmatic religious belief. So just as the government cannot walk into the house and tell Irish Catholic Mark Murphy that he now needs to worship the King of England and give the rites, the verbal prayers of the King of England, the government cannot compel a teacher to give her money to pamphlets, mailers, and other documents that go against her political beliefs. This is literally
no sense.
What? Okay, should the government be able to compel you to religious speech?
Wait a second. We're talking
No, but yes or no
different
question. No, it's
compels.
not.
You're
Because
asking me about religion when you're and freedom of
okay,
speech.
should the government be able to compel you? Honestly, with a supermajority of Democrats in the state of California, should they be able to pass a law that says every morning we need to say the Pledge of Allegiance and then a Pledge of Allegiance to the Democrat Party? Literally,
We've already
does
said
the government
they can't do the Pledge of Allegiance? We already said that.
Okay, but can the government come in? Yeah, the fact that we've said you can't be forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance shows that you are not allowed to have compelled speech
But we didn't
in
start
America.
we didn't start doing the Pledge of Allegiance until the 50s. So this
No,
is a
I don't.
very
I don't
big
need the history,
difference.
but we have literally legislated that you cannot compel students to pledge allegiance to anything. So why should you compel teachers to pledge allegiance to a political dogma they do not agree with?
They were elected to have that union represent them. They opted into
Okay,
that
Mariah,
when they said that's
bail
the
him out.
job I
bail
want.
bail
They
my
actually
co-host out.
didn't opt in. They were
They were hired.
forced, actually,
How were they forced?
to pay into the
Could
money
they
into
could
the
they
union.
work someplace
Through
else?
coercion.
They didn't consent to the dues deductions.
Wait a second.
They didn't want to pay money at the beginning. And then with the teachers in our case, they signed a card, and the union did not inform them of their rights. When the government, when the court has put the burden on the unions to tell teachers and government employees what their rights are. They
Like
put the
my
burden
daughter-
on the government.
My daughter was informed before she opted to pay her union dues in this last year. After the decision, she was informed of her right to not do it. And she opted in to do it because she said, even though that's a lot of money for a single person, it also represented the people who were going to maintain her salary, her rights, continue this at
Well,
the
that's
state
because she
incremental level.
agrees with the Democrats.
If she
And she
consented,
opted.
that is great.
But see,
That
these
is fine.
people
That is
could
her
work
decision.
someplace else. They don't have to be a teacher in that union. This is
The
the whole
key there
thing.
No,
is
if
that
you want to
she-
teach in Saugus, you have no choice. It's not like there's
Then
two
go teach
teachers unions.
someplace else. Go teach in a
The
private school.
key there, though, is that she chose. She knew. They told her.
Yeah.
They told her rights.
So what
They
is
told
it?
her her
What
rights,
is it
and
the
she
Koch
chose-
brothers want to get
Literally,
out of
that's
this?
what white
she
people said to
chose-
black people during the Voting Rights Act. They said, oh, if you don't like it, how they treat you at the polls in Alabama, you could always move to a more African-American friendly state in the north.
And you're
I mean,
absolutely
what?
right. Yeah, you know what? The first unions, one of their first platforms was to make sure that the children that had been liberated had a chance to be educated. That happened in the 50s. 1850s.
Okay, so let me get this
So,
right, Mariah.
we're talking about the
so there used
union-
to be a law. There used to be a law that required that teachers opt in to having money taken out of their paychecks. But Janus, the Supreme Court decision, said no, they don't have to be compelled. They have to show consent. And then now the teachers union basically pressured a bunch of teachers into signing those consent forms so their money could get taken out, and were coerced into compelled speech instead of being allowed to decide
That's
what
their
the
case.
speech would be.
And
Yes,
here we
that-
have
that-
40
to
years
clarify-
of history reversed. 40 years of history.
It was reversed because it was poorly reasoned, and it was an outlier as far as First Amendment precedent. Now, to get back to the case,
Yes, the reason we invited you on the show. Let's talk about that, because we're down to like 3 minutes.
these teachers signed without their affirmative consent. They did not know their rights.
So go work elsewhere.
That sounds pretty
But
fascist.
but Janice
Sounds like
has now
freedom.
said you can work there and not pay money
Okay.
to a union as a condition of employment.
So what's their case? What's their pain? What's their suffering?
They're not letting them opt out of the
Of
paying
course they're
union
allowed
dues.
to opt out.
They are still holding them to the dues deductions card. They are still deducting dues from their paycheck. They accepted their resignation, but they are still deducting dues from their paycheck. Now, doesn't that sound a little crazy
That sounds
to you?
like what the Koch
that
brothers would do.
Oh,
doesn't that
stop
sound
it.
crazy that they would accept their resignation, but they are still deducting dues? So,
Seems what the
so
contract.
what? All
It's
they
for
care
a
about is the
contract.
money?
So
It's all
you're
about
not
the
even
contract.
resigned. You're not even resigned if they're technically taking dues. It's just
Yeah.
like you could say the government could say, "Oh well, we won't charge you for taxes anymore," but if they're still charging you, you're still getting taxed.
Basically, they pressured them into signing that card because they just wanted to take their money.
So if I understand this correctly,
That's the attempt on that
big,
side.
powerful, and financially influential union just coerced a bunch of vulnerable teachers into signing a membership form, and they won't let them get out of it.
Yes, they have, reaffirmed several times that they want to stop the dues deductions. And that is why they came to us, because they said, we want to sue them. We need people to help us challenge them. And
so
we're
you took
seeking
the
injunctive
billionaires'
relief.
money, the people who are known for crushing the lowest.
we are
You
using-
don't complain about
We are
MoveOn.org
supported by
that's
all
funded by
Americans who
Soros.
are
I've seen
agree
this
in
over-
freedom and individual liberty.
One person on the radio at a time. Say that sentence again.
We are supported by everyday Americans who agree with individual liberty and freedom.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to have a rule on this show. If you ever complain about the Koch brothers and they're like 10 billion, I want you to cite a case and complain about Soros and the 20 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, each party seems to have its mega donors that donate to causes they believe in. And free speech right now, this is the crazy part about how I am a liberal Republican. I don't know how that's possible, but I am a huge free speech advocate. When I was a kid, the people that were defending the underdogs were liberals, and they were generally Democrats. The people that were against McCarthyism and the government subpoenaing people so they could take their money and ruin their lives were the Democrats. And now, if you're a free speech advocate, you are strangely forced into the Republican corner because the ACLU has become the defender of the big corporations trying to press down on the free speech of the small guy. And now teachers aren't even allowed to opt out of union dues after a Supreme Court decision without being coerced by the CTA. This is the epitome of an underdog needing defense. And I don't care if the Koch brothers want to loose their money
I
to
have
help
a question
defend free
for Mark.
speech.
Mark, how would you feel if you were forced to only buy Starbucks coffee?
Well, it's one of the best coffees in America, and I think Howard Schultz is quite a guy and runs a good organization, so I'd probably be into it. But, as an American, I have the option.
Okay, we're going to have to, that was a great analogy. We're going to continue this discussion later. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go. Before we go, in 10 seconds, how can people find you?
You can find us at optouttoday.com or the Freedom Foundation. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mariah Gondero.
Okay, Mariah Gondero, Gondeiro, right?
Yes.
All right, thanks, guys, for listening. It was the Freedom Foundation with Mariah Gondero. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Mark Murphy. We're live in the KHTS studio. This was Problem Solver Politics. It is 7:59.